we are doing welcome. My name is Kelly Brosna. I'm the State Director and the CEO of the New Jersey Small Business Development Network. And we are here today to discuss how to commercialize early stage tech with the Department of Energy. I am thrilled to have the Department of Energy here as our partner today, and they're going to be presenting. I'd also let everybody know that we have our partners also SBA, and we have John Blackstock, who is the District Director for SBA that will be speaking a little bit later, as well as Judith Sheff, who's the Executive Director of CSIT, which is Commission of Science, Innovation, and Technology. I want to make sure I got that right with all these acronyms. So today, I'm just going to say a few words and talk just briefly about what the New Jersey Small Business Development Center has to offer. And again, thank you to our partners for today for being here to present to everybody. So the New Jersey Small Business Development Center Network has been around for 45 years. This is actually our 45th year anniversary. And we provide no-cost consulting, and one-on-one no-cost consulting, a low-cost, no-cost training programs such as webinars that we are doing today. We have 12 regional centers across the state and well over 20 affiliate offices, which we also call satellite offices throughout the state. We cover every single county, and we have the boots on the ground. We are a premier resource for small businesses, for anybody who wants to start, grow, expand, exit, look at other alternatives such as procurement and other ways that you can grow your business. We also partner with the universities. We're at the Rutgers School of Business in New Jersey, as well as other chambers of commerce, universities, and other business organizations that we partner with. And again, we are providing this presentation here today through our U.S. CARES Act funding that we were pretty blessed in New Jersey to be able to receive additional funding to provide consulting and training programs across the state to help businesses overcome the economic effects of the COVID-19 pandemic and also help them into resiliency and grow. And throughout that time, we also are helping quite a few businesses start up during the pandemic. And again, this is just our basic information. You could go to NJSBDC.com and get our resource. We have webinars, we have lots of resources that people can access. And again, we have social media that you can always find us. So I want to thank everybody, and I will be turning it over to our next speaker. So thank you very much for participating today. And I look forward to talking a little bit later on in the presentation. Thank you.
I'm up, right? Okay, hi everybody. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Share and start the slideshow. Okay, can everyone see my screen? Yes. Hello, everybody. I am Eileen Chan. I am with the Office of the DOE Office of SBIR, STTR programs. I'm the Outreach Program Manager. I'm really happy to be here today and speak to a group of New Jersey entrepreneurs about our program. I'm going to really focus on how you can access what our funding is about, what makes you a good fit for it, and how you can access programs that will help you achieve your, receive a DOE SBIR STTR award. For those of you who don't know that much about what is the federal SBIR STTR program, this is almost $4 billion annually. It is an early stage, non-dilutive competitive R&D fund, and the awardees of these funds are entrepreneurs and small businesses. Non-dilutive means that we do not take a piece of your company, we don't own your intellectual property, and you don't have to pay it back. It's a grant. It is your early stage idea to execute, and we provide funds for you to investigate. The first award provides funds to investigate the feasibility of your idea It's like a proof of concept study. And the federal government operates in the space that is going to be like a little bit too high stage, too early stage and high risk for the private sector. So we try to get you past that idea stage to the point where you can start thinking more about commercializing your technology. There are a number of goals of the federal SBIR program. We do, one of them is to use small businesses to participate and to help stimulate the technological innovation that's required for our economy and for our nation. We are very interested also in increasing the participation of socially and economically disadvantaged small businesses and women-owned small businesses in the SBIR, STTR programs. And we track a number of underrepresented groups, and we're always interested in elevating awareness to those groups. One of the groups that we track is states that are not achieving their fair share of our grants. Because in an ideal world, the federal funds get distributed in a proportional sense around the nation. And so we do define 25 states that are not getting their fair share of the DOE SBIR program. Just to let you know that New Jersey has only recently become one of those underrepresented states. And that's it for the slide. There are 11 agencies. I am going to be speaking about DOE today, but please, if DOE is not a good fit, you should look at these other agencies. You know, if you're doing research that will maybe benefit the agricultural space, there's the Department of Agriculture, there's NASA, NSF. NSF's program, their mission is to advance science. And so you should be aware that NSF will fund almost anything that they think is a good idea. The DOE funds very specific topics, things that are aligned with our mission. But there's 11 agencies. The top 5 agencies have, in addition to the SBIR program, they have an STTR program. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. The DOE is the 3rd largest program, and we fund over $300 million a year in our R&D grants. So a little bit about DOE. Again, we award $300 million in grants per year. These are grants. They're not contracts. You're not delivering something to the DOE at the end, a technology, a prototype, or anything like that. We are not your customer for the most part. There are some exceptions to that, but this is your early stage idea, your execution of your early stage idea. And what the goal is for you to take your technology that you develop it and eventually turn it into a commercial product. My colleague Carol is going to be speaking on commercialization execution. Okay, so what do we fund? We have very focused topics that are aligned with the DOE mission. We're not like NSF, which will fund anything that advances science and is a good idea and has commercial potential. We do fund topics that are aligned with our mission, but what many don't know is that we do have a broader mission than is commonly assumed. We do fund topics in clean energy, which people associate with DOE. But did you know that we do fund leadership in basic energy and engineering sciences? I'll go into a little bit more about what that means. And also our mission, 3rd part of our mission is enhancement of nuclear security. And we fund topics in that area as well. So topics are more wide ranging than most expect. We have 2 phase 1 solicitations per year. That's the entry point, that's the initial grant. That's the technology evaluation phase. Another thing that's unique about our program is you do require we require a letter of intent about 6 weeks after our topics come out. It's a short 500-word write-up about what it is you're going to do. That's required as part of the process. And I do want to let people know that we offer a very popular and fairly expansive application assistance program, phase 0. About half of our first-time DOE, SBIR, STTR applicants participate in our application assistance program. I'm going to go more into that later. And what is the difference between SBIR and STTR? You should understand this difference if you're considering submitting an application. While SBIR allows you to have a non-profit research institution assisting with your research and development, and that would be a university. Typically, it's a university or a national lab, but can be any nonprofit research institution. The STTR program requires a nonprofit research institution be a partner in your research program. And for the SBIR application, the principal investigator must be an employee of the small business, while for the STTR program, the PI can be an employee of either the small business or the research institution. Now, the STTR program was originally designed to foster technology transfer from a research institution and spin it out into a small business, into the private sector. But it doesn't really have to be structured that way. You can be the owner of the technology and then just have the research institution assist you with your research and development. And also very important to note is if you fulfill the requirements of SBIR and STTR, when you're submitting your application, you can check the both box and you can apply for both. And they are two different pots of money. So for a meritorious application, it really, in theory, will increase your prospects for receiving an award. The award all the awards, whether it's SBIR or STTR, go to the small businesses. In the STTR case, the small business gets the funding and you will be paying your research institution to do the work. There are different level of effort requirements. Just focusing on the phase 1 award, the small business or SBIR must do 2/3 of the research and development. And then 1/3 is up for subcontractors, which might include a research institution. It might involve subject matter expert consultants. It might involve services such as materials testing, engineering design, etc. But the small business must do 2/3 of the research and development. For STTR, the small business must do a minimum of 40% of the research and development. The research institution is required to do a minimum of 30%. And then the remaining 30% is also can go out to other subcontractors or can be part of the small business or part of the research institution's effort. We have a level of effort workbook on our website. So when you're filling out your application, make sure you go to the level of effort workbook and make sure you're compliant with these requirements. If you're not compliant, unfortunately, your application will be declined without review. As I mentioned before, we have two phase 1 funding opportunity announcements per year. This is the entry point into our program. If your phase 1 research is successful, you can move on to phase 2. In July, our topics will come out for the release 1. We have 4 offices that participate, 4 DOE program offices that participate in the release 1. They are listed here. Release 2, the topics will come out in November 7th. 3 months after the topics come out, approximately, is when your applications will be due. We have 8 or 9 offices that participate in Release 2. Release 1 is more around basic engineering and sciences. These are topics that are looking for advanced instrumentation, lasers, nuclear physics technology, things that they may need for accelerators and mirrors, etc. So these are components that are needed for these offices to conduct their research and development. Release 2 is more what people kind of think about when they think about the DOE, which is more applied, although it does have basic science top offices as well. But our renewable energy topics, solar, wind, building technologies, carbon capture, improving the resilience of our electrical grid. We also have topics in cybersecurity, which are around protecting our energy infrastructure. Defense Nuclear Non-Proliferation Office releases topics on detection of nuclear threats, and more. There's a lot in the second release as well too. So you should get familiar with our topics and see if there's a fit somewhere with the technology you're developing is a good fit with the topic, or maybe the technology you're developing can be pivoted in some way to be a good fit. Just keep checking my time to make sure I don't go too long. Okay, so a little bit more detail about sampling of topics. This is not an all-inclusive list, but in the 3 mission areas of the Department of Energy, we really have a very wide range of topics, and that's what this slide is intended to show you. And I'm happy to take questions about our topics. Okay, a little bit more about how our funding works. As I mentioned, phase 1 is the entry point into our program. You apply for the phase 1 grant. There are 2 opportunities a year. You have to be responsive to our focused and mission aligned topics. If you have a good idea, you have the ability to carry out the good idea, and you are aligned with the topic, that is a really good starting point. You are likely to be a good fit with the DOE, and those are the first questions you should ask yourself. We do have a letter of intent that is due 6 weeks after the topics come out, and if your letter of intent is not considered responsive, you will receive feedback on your letter of intent, and you will receive some detailed information about why you're not responsive. You can still submit your application, but it is highly recommended that you do a deep dive into the feedback. Are you really not a good fit, or can you change your approach in some way to improve your fit with the topic? The maximum awards are between $200K and $250K, depending on which topic it is. You conduct your feasibility evaluation over a 6 to 12 month duration, and we give up to 400 awards per year. If your phase 1 study is successful, your proof of concept looks good, you can apply for phase 2. It is focused on your technology demonstration and building your prototype. You have 2 years to conduct your phase 2 program, and the maximum award is $1.1 to $1.6 million. About 40% of phase 2 applications are funded. That's a pretty good award rate for an award in excess of $1 million rather. We do provide follow-on, a second phase 2 award. There's 2 different kinds, phase 2A, phase 2B, and we also will provide a phase 2C, or a third phase 2 award. And you note that this timeline is shown such that you can receive funding up to 7 or 8 years to develop your technology and get it ready for the commercial marketplace. The DOE is in the business of hard tech or deep tech, and it does take 8-9 years in some cases to develop the technology. So we try to provide a stability of resources in that timeline, take you through what's known as the Valley of Death, where your funding is lean after the R&D phase and before the full-on commercialization phase, to get you through that period. This is our fiscal year 23 phase 1 opportunities, release 1 and release 2. These are the timelines. On July 11th, the topics will come out. The topics document will be populated. The link is shown below. It will be populated in this square, and you will be able to look at the topics, look at the table of contents, do keyword searches in your technology area, and see if there's something there for you. Release 2, November 7th, go to our webpage at that day and look at the topics document, see if there's something for you as well. And then it goes through the timeline here. When we do webinars, which you should attend, you will find out more about your topics, what the program managers are looking for. And then there's a FOA webinar, which will go into a deep dive onto the application process. Letters of intent, due date is shown, and then the application deadline is shown as well too. So this is a very important page. If you're interested in DOE SBIR, you can go now to the fiscal year 22 funding opportunity. If you go to this page, you can find the funding, the ones for 22, which are closed. But I do encourage you to look up the topics documents for fiscal year 22, because the flavor is the same. Things are going to change. Some topics might go away. Some new topics will show up. And but it's a good way to get a flavor for the types of things that we fund. We have a phase 0 program. If you have never submitted to the DOE SBIR STTR program, you're eligible for our phase 0 program. I'm going to go more into that in a subsequent slide. You should attend our topic and FOA webinars as well. There's a lot of really good information about the topics and about the application process. We have an online learning center that breaks the application process into a lot of chunks, like 30 different tutorials are on that page. We have also partnering opportunities, and Carol's going to talk about that. During the application process, we offer Q&A webinars for those who are in the application pipeline, and you can jump on a call and you can ask our program office questions about the application process. All your questions will be answered. You can email us, and please, very importantly, join our mailing list, because if you're on our mailing list, you will be invited to the topic webinars and the FOA webinars. And that's your starting point to get invited to all the other webinars that occur during the application process. We are on LinkedIn and we are on Twitter as well. So get connected to our office so that you know what's going on and you know the timeline. Again, first phase 1 application. You can apply to our phase 0 program. You will receive one-on-one coaching to help you through the application process. First-time applicants can get overwhelmed. Unfortunately, it takes 100 to 150 hours the first time you submit an application. You have 3 months to do it. Our contractor is Dawnbreaker. They will help you get organized, and they will help you with the system registrations. They will review your proposal, your letter of intent. They will review your research plan and help you through your first application. Again, our topics are very specific. I have an example that is shown here. It specifies maximum award amounts up here at the top. Very important. Don't ask for more than the maximum award amount. And each topic will have a different award amount. If you're interested in an STTR application, make sure they're accepting STTR applications. Read the topic in detail. Read the subtopic in detail. Read the references. You are expected to be an expert in your technology, so please get up to date on the latest, the state of the art of your technology. You are expected to bring the technology to the table to know what it is that you are proposing and why it's better than what's out there. So the topics is a good launching point for learning about your technology, the state of the art, your competitors, because there are a number of references also that are included in the topics document. And I do want to point out that the DOE is funding topics that have technology development, of course, but they also do have some equity facets to them as well, in terms of developing technology that will help benefit or serve an underserved or distressed community. That's this topic here by the Renewable Energy Office. Also, you can reach out at any time after the topic's open to the technical topic contact. that's listed with every subtopic. And so we have open communication permitted. Now I need to move a little faster. Carol will talk a little bit about this, but we have a funding known as Technical and Business Assistance, or Taba. And so if you receive an R&D Phase 1 grant, you are also eligible to receive up to $6,500 in help conducting market research, learning about the regulatory landscape, the intellectual property landscape, learning to develop a pitch deck for your technology, and more. So be aware that we provide R&D grants, but we also have programs that will help you support you in developing your commercialization strategy. Another example of this is the Energy I-Corps program. 40 are selected per cycle, so not everybody gets admitted into this program, but it's an education on entrepreneurial concepts, and it's focused on teaching the participants about customer discovery. And you will interview 30 potential customers as part of this Energy I-Corps program. So we provide R&D grants, but please be aware that we provide a lot of other support along your path to commercialization. We provide a bunch of application assistance webinars, our Phase 0 program, and more. And we also provide a number of resources once you're an awardee on partnering. On partnering and commercialization. So as I said at the beginning, if you decide that DOE SBIR STTR is not for you, please don't give up and look at the other agencies. SBIR.gov has many resources on navigating the federal SBIR STTR programs. And they have lists of all of the different agencies about their solicitations and links to those resources and those programs. And then I'm going to be passing the baton to Carol now, but please note that that technology development is a challenge. It takes years, especially in the DOE area funded areas, to take hard tech to the market. It's very important to understand the market. You should be thinking about your commercialization really from the get-go while you're conducting your R&D. And please note it takes a team. It's not just research and development. You need entrepreneurs and more. Again, Carol's going to be speaking to a lot of this going forward. So thank you for your time. Please reach out. My email address is here, and get on our mailing list. That's one of the most important first steps that you can take to get involved and get knowledgeable about our program and decide whether it's for you or not. So thank you very much for your time, and I'm going to turn it over to Carol now.
Okay, good morning. Hopefully the information that Eileen shared piqued your curiosity about DOE and the topics we fund through the SBIR and STTR programs. My name is Carol Rabke. I am a colleague of Eileen's, and I joined the DOE Programs Office last July as part of their Tech to Market Partnering Initiative. So I bring with me 20 plus years in the SBIR and STTR ecosystem, and I was hired to support the initiative by providing resources to applicants and awardees and to help you build the necessary relationships at each step of the development path. So I am going to, at this point, get started by sharing my screen. I also have to start my timer because I don't want to go over. I have a bad habit of doing that. Eileen knows that. So I have a timer going today. All right, start. Okay, so as Eileen mentioned, I am going to be speaking with you today about commercialization, why it's important, and what the key points are that you should be thinking about now as you're just starting to prepare your or think about submitting a proposal. So I'm going to talk about commercialization, then I'm going to talk about what goes into a phase 1 commercialization plan, the components of that commercialization plan, what to think about today, the importance of customer discovery. It's really important all the way along the development path, but it's particularly important now as you're just starting to think about what the solution needs to look like so that people will purchase it down the road. And then I'm going to end speaking a little bit about partnering, why it's necessary, and the types of early stage partners. So why is commercialization important? Well, first of all, it is a statutory goal. It's a congressional objective, and as an agency, or all agencies, I should say, are responsible for evaluating the commercial potential of R&D. So SBIR funds are an excellent source of non-dilutive funds. It's not a loan, you never have to repay it. You keep your intellectual property, but there is the stipulation that you need to be able to demonstrate return on investment. Now, that return on investment can be significant societal benefit. So, if you are working or thinking about developing a technology where it's got a very small commercial market, or maybe this happens within our DOE mission area, and maybe it's something very specific to hard tech. It's only going to be used by the national labs or in an accelerator, but it's going to increase our discovery. And so that's important as well. So I will say that it doesn't have to just be limited to commercialization. But what does commercialization look like? Basically, it's anything that is using non-SBIR funds. So you can get you can get another contract with another agency, but it just needs to be non-SBIR funds, and that will count as commercialization. So how does DOE look at it? Well, we have defined it in different ways. We've looked at all of our try to do a historical look at what we've been funding and how things have moved from phase 1 to phase 3. And I've shown you here just so that you can see that it's a little bit of everything. It is private investments, it's acquisition, federal contracts. As I mentioned, it just means it's non-SBIR funds. It's a lot of sales to research institutes and other federal agencies, and I think that makes sense given the mission areas that we support, and then also commercial sales. So as we move into thinking about the commercialization plan and commercialization, I want to talk about where it fits in the review criteria. Now, this is specific to DOE, and the significance of commercialization will vary by agency. DOE evaluates it under the impact criteria, so you can see that it's evaluated under something that is 1/3 of the total review. It is just part of that impact because they also look at the scientific impact. But let's say that you decide DOE isn't the right fit for you, but you're going to submit to NSF. So when you are submitting to NSF, it plays even more significance. So you're going to want to make sure you understand the significance that commercialization plays as you submit to the particular agencies. And you don't want to just understand the significance of your commercialization plan. You also want to be aware of something that is called your company commercialization report. Actually, I should change that to report. So once you are fired up and going and you've submitted a phase 1 and now you're submitting phase 2s, you are going to have to report on how well you've done commercializing this SBIR and STTR funded projects. And so on SBIR.gov, you are going to find out that you need to report through grants.gov what you have been doing in terms of commercialization. And that is looked at by the agencies. So just keep in mind those two pieces of critical information. And I know Eileen touched on this, but I did just want to mention so that you have an idea of it. On average, we get about 1,000 applications per phase 1 cohort, and we fund about 20% of them. So keep in mind, it's very competitive. So there are a million different ways to bring your technology to market, and it makes sense because there are lots of diverse technologies that are supported by the agencies. And there's going to be equally number of different business models. So the percentages will vary by agency dependent upon the technologies and whether they can be their own customers. So mission-oriented customers can be their or mission-oriented agencies can be their own customers. So DOE, a small portion of the technologies we fund, we will purchase for the national labs, but the majority of ours are going to need to move to the commercial market. But if you think about DOD, they are going to totally be mission-oriented, and so they are truly looking to be their own customer. Think about NSF though, and they are never going to purchase their own technology. So those are some things, again, to keep in mind as you're thinking about agencies. So no one model fits all. There's been a myth, you know, that one model is favored over another. That really isn't the case. Figure out which strategy is best for your company and your target industry, and then just provide the validation to support your decision. So you'll see that the majority of companies, just looking in general, talk about doing a business model where they're going to generate revenue through product sales. There's also a lot of technology licensing and a lot of software licensing. So those are the big pieces that you see here. So now, thinking about putting in your phase 1 proposal, and let's think about what you should be thinking about now. You have a good idea, you've found an agency, hopefully DOE, but it doesn't have to be, with a related topic area, or maybe you found an agency that you think does research in an area of interest, and so you've been watching for those topic releases. And again, ours are going to come out in July and November, so put those dates on your calendars and make sure you check back. And why are we caring about this commercialization planning? We're caring because you've got these great ability to access funds. They're non-dilutive, they're not a loan. You can keep your intellectual property, but you have to demonstrate that return on investment. So phase 1 commercialization plans, there are many similar key elements. But the available information is going to vary based on the technology area you're working and the application or the target market. So if you are putting together an innovative solution for an existing market, you'll find that there's much more information on your market. You can find information on your competitors, and there are probably existing customer bases out there that you can interview and you can tap into. But some of you are going to be delivering technologies into emerging markets, and that market information is going to be more challenging to obtain or even to estimate, especially those of you that are working in deep tech. It's going to be really hard to figure out when that new, micro reactor is finally going to make it to the commercial market. Competitors might be unknown or even less known, and there are going to be very few, if any, commercial products available today. So you might have to do a lot of looking around at research that's going on to see who your competitors might be. So what are the essential elements of a commercialization plan? Well, I have broken it down to 8 pieces. Stakeholders. You have got to understand who your customer, your end users are, who the key players are, and who the suppliers are. So you've got to have a good understanding of your stakeholders. You need to start trying to figure out what your value proposition looks like. Like, what are the benefits that you're going to offer to whom and at what relative price? The market opportunity. So you may be thinking, oh gosh, I don't even know how to start thinking about that. Well, you can get some help from your SBDC, and you can start looking that if you're going into an existing market, you can find market research reports, and then you just need to make sure that when you're thinking about your market opportunity, you really look at what niche part of it you're going after. If you're developing a capacitor, don't say that your market opportunity is the entire electronic component market, because you only have a very small piece of that, the capacitor. And you may even need to filter it further because let's say, are you doing a passive or an active capacitor? And then you might even filter it further because you're going to target it at, say, transportation. So you need to make sure that you're really looking at your market opportunity from the niche that you're going to serve. Competition, you need to think about your business model. And again, some of that is going to come from how well you engage with your stakeholders so that you know how you're going to best be able to serve those folks and make a market entry. You need to think about what is all the funding that you're going to need for technology development. It can't all, or in most cases, I'll say, it won't all come from SBIR. And in fact, you can't use SBIR funds for some things. SBIR is really just for R&D. I know Eileen mentioned Taba funding, and I'm going to speak to it a little bit as well at the end, but the majority of your funding has to be used for R&D. You need to think about your IP strategy. What is your sustainable competitive advantage? And I added this down at the bottom. Your team is really critical. And so start thinking about, what are some weaknesses in your team? Maybe you're just starting out, it's just you and a co-founder, and you need to think about all the other pieces that you need to add. So thinking specifically about DOE and phase 1 commercialization plans, I have given you some links here to an example plan. You can also look at the related FOA, which is the funding opportunity announcement. I gave you a link to that page. So as you prepare to submit, you'll want to look here. The phase 1 commercialization plan for DOE is a separate 4-page plan, and it mirrors the individual sections that are also, let's say you get a phase 1 and you move to phase 2, are also mirrored in that phase 2 commercialization plan. So you're going to have a section on the market opportunity, a section on your company and team, a section on your competition and intellectual property, and a section on finance and how you're going to generate revenue. And so when you move from phase 1 to phase 2, it's really going to require you to take your 4 pages, expand it to 15, and really provide the validation and the information behind what you put down on paper for your phase 1 submission. I'm just going to quickly run through these because I don't want to run out of time. So for the DOE phase 1 specifications, and I just will add that all the agencies have different specifications. DOE specifications are pretty similar to NSF specifications, particularly for phase 2. There are differences between phase 1 between DOE and NSF, but this is what DOE is asking you to think about. They're asking you to make this mandatory statement at the beginning. You may be thinking, gosh, I don't even know, but just make an estimate. They want to give you the idea of thinking about 10 years because some technologies will take that long to commercialize. If you're developing software, of course, it might be much quicker. Some people can even finish the development of their technology by the end of phase 2. So just think about what these numbers are going to be. Again, this is phase 1. They're not going to ask you to really validate it yet. Market opportunity, you want to talk about these things. So you, again, want to be able to talk about your customers, your competitive advantage, what the actual product or services is that you're going to bring to market. Think about anticipated sales. So, if you're developing a product, it's going to be the number of units by the anticipated selling price. Or if it's going to be a service or a software, think about the subscriptions. Describe your competitors. It's the kiss of death to say you have no competitors. And then describe barriers to entry. Section 2, the company and the team. You really want to speak to the capabilities of your team as they relate to commercialization. You don't have to repeat your technical qualifications because you're going to get to upload the bios for your entire technical team. So here you really want to concentrate on what those commercial capabilities are. Intellectual property, you want to speak to what exists in your intended market and talk about what you're going to do to protect that intellectual property. And then Section 4, this is where you talk about your revenue forecast. Again, that's a mandatory statement. It actually goes on the front page of your commercialization plan at the very top before you get started. But I have also seen a lot of folks also include it here. It is mandatory and you're just looking for estimates. If you have an idea of how you arrived at that information in phase 1, it would be great to put that in. But again, it's only 4 pages. You can't put a lot of information into it. And keep in mind, it is reviewed as part of the impact criteria. So what are the must-haves? Customer discovery. You want to make sure that there's someone out there that actually needs your solution. Understand your target market and the opportunity. Understand your competition. Think about your team. You're often very strong technically, but think about a time phase plan to incorporate others that are going to provide business functions if they're not there today. Maybe you need partners for that. Strategy for IP, your model for revenue generation, and it's early to begin thinking about this specifically, but start thinking about what funding is required to take it from testing the feasibility to the market. So the importance of customer discovery. A recent National Academy of Sciences study found that 1/3 of DOE phase 2 awardees stop working on their technology after phase 2 because they discover the market for their technology is too small. So I'm asking you to start thinking about that now before you submit a phase 1 proposal to any agency. And it will also help you find the information you need for your phase 1 proposal anyway. So start the customer discovery process now. You'll find, if you think back to slide 10, where I gave you information that you need to be thinking about and including in a phase 1 commercialization plan. If you think back to that, you're going to see on this slide that you can get a lot of information about your stakeholders because you want to validate the need. You can talk to them about price, specifications, quality requirements. And the biggest piece is you can understand the value chain or your supply chain and where you fit. It also gives you a great chance to start developing a relationship so that you can go back and nurture the relationship over time. It gives you a chance to be realistic in your assessment of potential sales. So you can think about what you learned during your customer discovery. Let's say you interviewed 30 potential customers and you found that only, 15 of them need this particular solution. So that gives you an idea of how widespread your influx into the market might be. You can find out about your competitors. You can talk to people that have similar issues and find out who's supplying the solutions today. What are the limitations with those solutions? And you can also start to try to understand the price and customer loyalty, because you are going to have to be able to pull them to be your customers. You're going to have to find out how loyal are they to that supplier right now. Again, I really want you to start thinking about that customer discovery now, because interactions with stakeholders, opening the door to relationships, can need to be nurtured over a long time. And long term, some of them might even become potential partners. I gave you a couple of questions here that you can say to them so that you can get back to them easily. Like, can I come back to you in a couple of months to talk to you about progress? Would you be interested in beta testing? Does your company provide letters of support? You really need letters of support for phase 2. So you might as well start trying to nurture that relationship now. And then I would just say, don't stop. Make it part of your everyday product development. Make sure that you really figure out that a solution is needed, and then that you build that solution to fit the need. You know, talk to them about what features they need. Talk to them about what they'd be willing to pay. So commercialization is hard. The directorate provides Taba Funds, which Eileen mentioned. You can have 6.5 in phase 1 and 50,000 in phase 2. We have a phase 1 commercialization program. Its vendor is vetted by our agency, but just keep in mind that you can't ask to use the 6,500 for something specific and participate in the program. It's one or the other. We also offer, as Eileen mentioned, an abbreviated phase 1 I-Core program. It's not open to everyone, well, it is open to everyone, said that wrong, but we only accept 40 people per cohort. And then you can look in the FOA, again, I gave you the link here for the specific tasks that can be covered with Taba Funds. So just quickly, because I know I'm running out of time, I'm trying to do better, Eileen. So I want to talk about discovering the power of partnering and what it can do for you. So they can really strengthen your proposal, and it can increase your chances of successful commercialization. Because historically, companies are 50% more likely to have successful commercialization if they build those necessary partnerships early. Early meaning now, while you're just beginning the development of the technology. So this looks very similar to what Eileen showed you, but I just wanted to try to show you how partners will vary by the development stage. So you all are kind of in the idea stage, so you're on the far left-hand side of the screen, and then you're going to move through proof of concept, development, prototype testing, all the way into implementation. And implementation is when it's going out to the market. And so you'll note that I want you talking to the customers all the way through the process. And what you're talking to them about is going to change. You know, you want to confirm market need and product requirements at the beginning. Then you want to start talking to them about beta testing, and finally about sales, licensing, and maybe strategic partners. You're going to talk to national labs and research institutes at the beginning. Technical consultants you could have all the way along. Business services, those would be things that you could fund through Taba. You're going to see that I really see them picking up as you submit that phase 1 proposal, because there's a lot of different pieces that you need help with. And investors, you can see how it's going to change from angel investment at the very early seed stages to corporate and then to venture. And so I just wanted to overlap this with what Eileen showed. And so right now, going into phase 1, you're really looking at subject matter experts, collaborators, and subcontractors. So where can you find some partners at your fingertips? That's what I'm trying to show you there with that graphic. Well, check out the newly introduced SBIR STTR partnering resources page. I give you the link here. And then I am going to be launching a partnering website, and that should be ready in early July. You can reach out directly to me. Until then, I'm going to give you my email address on the next slide, I think. And you'll also find a blog that's connected to that partnering resources page, and you can see what people have been asking me so far. So if you're looking for subject matter experts, collaborators, subcontractors, You can review related research being done at research institutes. You can check publications. Those are great places to find those types of folks. But if you're looking to find them at national labs, there's also a great national lab partnering site that has been put together. This was put together by NREL, but you can visit that and you can search by technology area, by industry, by the type of facility you're looking for. So that's a really great resource that I wanted to mention as well. And then just some other resources, if you're looking for help with manufacturing, here are two NIST related, well, NIST hosts them on their site. Manufacturing USA is actually, oops, I'm out of time. Manufacturing USA is newer and state-of-the-art. They're institutes, but they are funded by NIST, DOE, and DOD. But if you are looking for non-traditional, that would be a link for you to look at. The MEP centers, those are manufacturing extension partnerships, and that is more on the traditional lines, but you can sort by state there. And then of course, your SBDCs, your accelerators, your local entrepreneurial centers, there's a host of resources that are available out there. And so here's my email address, my phone number. Please reach out to me if you have some questions about partnering, if you just want to talk to us a little bit more about how we could help you get involved. I'm open to being contacted by email or telephone. So I will turn this back over to our host.
Great. Thank you so much, Carol and Eileen, for the presentation and all of the amazing information that you've provided us today and to our audience. It is my great pleasure to be able to introduce Judith Sheff. She is the Executive Director of CSIT, which is Commission on Science, Innovation, and Technology. Judith, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Kelly. And what a wonderful set of presentations from Eileen and Carol. And I'd like to talk a little bit about the Commission on Science, Innovation, and Technology and let you know how our programs really complement what the small business development centers that Kelly leads here in New Jersey, as well as complements the work from the Department of Energy. So the next slide talks about the mission of the Commission on Science, Innovation, and Technology. And we're responsible for strengthening the overall innovation economy within the state. And there's a couple of points that are particularly critical about where we focus on innovation. We focus on those really early stage entrepreneurs who are developing innovation-based companies. We're also focused on trying to encourage collaboration and connectivity with academia. And I'll talk a little bit at the end about one of the resources to help you find partners and capabilities at the universities as you're working on your different SBIR plans. And Carol gave a lot of reasons for why you'd like to be able to potentially collaborate with academia, particularly on some of the commercialization activities. And then we're looking to ultimately see how we can translate these innovations into high growth, successful high growth businesses. On the next slide, I want to talk about the types of different programs that the Commission is involved with. On the first side, we're interested in linking, helping make those connections to various academic and private R&D capabilities, personnel, and technologies to get you all of the resources that you need to be successful. But in addition to those types of resources, we'd like to help you with connections to possible collaborators and customers. I believe it was Eileen who gave the one statistic, that talked about how companies sometimes end up getting through phase 1 and phase 2 and then not moving forward because it turns out there really wasn't a customer for their product or technology. We want to help you with getting some of that feedback early on and making those connections. We do a number of training activities, such as this SBIR, STTR webinar, and we have funded and we have a partnership with the Rutgers Small Business Development Centers, where coaches from the SBDC will be able to help you go through some of the processes and answering questions that you might have. And then lastly, we also have some financial opportunities. We have a number of grants. We have some matching grants and seed grants that I'll tell you a little bit about. And then we have some facility use voucher programs, which will help your company get access to some of the specialized equipment at New Jersey universities. On the next slide, you'll see the broad range of technology areas and industries that the Commission on Science, Innovation, and Technology, and really the state of New Jersey, is interested in. And you can see we are interested in a wide swath of technology-related capabilities, from life sciences, offshore wind, clean energy, transportation and logistics, advanced manufacturing, non-retail food and beverage, finance and professional services, film and digital media. So we are really interested in all the technology areas that are critical to growing New Jersey's innovation economy. And these are really the areas that are of interest and highlighted in Governor Murphy's state strategic plan. On the next slide, you can see the types of programs that we offer from a grant perspective. And again, our grants are complementary to grants that you may receive from the Department of Energy through their SBIR STTR program, which means you can augment funding that you receive from the Department of Energy with CSIT grants. We have on the SBIR STTR side a matching grant program. And through this year, we've given out 66 awards, close to $1.9 million to companies. So for companies who have a current phase 1 award, you are able to apply to the Commission on Science, Innovation, and Technology for an additional $25,000. If you've completed your phase 1 work and you are planning and you've applied for a phase 2 award, you can apply to the Commission for a $50,000 matching award. We anticipate opening up round 4 of the SBIR STTR Direct Financial Assistance Program from the Commission in the August-September timeframe. So we can send you information about that. We also have a series of clean tech and non-clean tech seed grant programs. Our seed grant programs, again, can complement other funding that you've received, and we provide awards on the seed grant program of up to $75,000 to work on a research and development project. The application is a little bit less strenuous than the federal SBIR applications, but again, we're looking for companies who are working on an R&D project. The Clean Tech Seed Grant has been supported by funding from the Board of Public Utilities. We have a non-clean tech catalyst seed grant, and then later this year, we're going to be opening up a maternal and infant health care seed grant program. In addition to the seed grant programs, we have voucher programs which allow companies to get access to specialized equipment at New Jersey universities, federal labs, and some other nonprofit core lab facilities. We know that getting access to this equipment, again, can help a small business augment work that they're looking to do. And then later this year, we're planning a clean tech pilot demonstration project program, which will allow companies to get some additional funding if they're really beyond the R&D phase and looking to implement programs and get their projects out into the real world in partnership with other people. The next slide takes a look again at the SBIR program. Again, I anticipate that our new round will start in the third quarter of 2022. And again, companies have been able to apply either for the $25,000 funding or the $50,000 funding. And we take a look, we go into the SBIR federal database so that we can see who's gotten awards, so that you will get emails from us alerting you to these opportunities. And the next slide just gives a highlight of some of the companies who have been supported through the SBIR STTR program. A couple of them are also companies who have received federal SBIR in the Department of Energy area. And Luca Technologies is one who has been working on smart building technologies. And I believe Princeton New Energy has gotten SBIR awards through some work that they're doing on battery recycling. Our voucher program is currently, on the next slide, is currently going to be opening on May 2nd. So we really encourage people to apply for this. Again, you can get up to $25,000 to get access to equipment, specialized equipment at New Jersey federal labs and universities to augment work that a small business is going to be doing on their own. And the voucher can be spent, can be used. You can apply for multiple vouchers. There's a cap of $25,000, but it might be $10,000 that you use at one place and then $5,000 someplace else. We know there's a lot of great capabilities in the state of New Jersey in terms of equipment and facilities and maker spaces. We want to help small businesses as they're going down their research and development journey to get access to these very highly specialized pieces of equipment. The next slide gives a map of the kinds of facilities that are available under the voucher pilot program. Again, it's capabilities at our four-year universities, our two-year community colleges, and then some of the other non-core lab facilities such as the Princeton Plasma Physics Lab, and then a number of life sciences capabilities at Hackensack Meridian and Coriel, and then some of the federal labs, the Army facility up at Picatinny, the Joint Base at Lakehurst, and the FAA facility. So we really are trying to plug companies into the great research infrastructure that exists in New Jersey. The next slide talks about another program that we have that's called Research with New Jersey. Carol on her slide talked about ways that you can find potential collaborators to work with you. And she talked about taking a look at research institutions and publications to try to find people who are working in the same area who may be great collaborators. There's a website called Research with New Jersey, researchwithnewjersey.com. And on that gateway, you can, in the search bar, put in information, technical search terms to find potential facilities at New Jersey universities that match up to that search term. You can find profiles around potential academic collaborators, and you can see research grants and outputs that they have. Currently, the site has information on faculty from Montclair, NJIT, Princeton, Rowan, and Rutgers. And there's about 5,000 different faculty profiles in there, 261 research outputs and papers, and then a number of different grants and projects. So it's a great resource as a first starting point to help you find the specific capabilities that you can use from a partnering standpoint. And on the next slide, it has contact information for the CSIT team. And I'm the executive director, and similar to Carol, you can reach out to us via phone or email. And we have two program officers, Maku Etta and Francis Keel, who are part of the CSIT team who can work with you. I'll turn it back to you, Kelly, and look forward to answering any questions that people might have.
Great. Thank you, Judith. Appreciate that and all that amazing information that you have. Now it is my pleasure to introduce John Blackstock. He is the District Director for the Small Business Administration for New Jersey and the region in this area. So welcome, John, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Kelly. Good morning, everybody. I believe my camera's not working. It says a host has stopped it, but can you hear me? Okay, here we go. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Lot of good information. Now, Eileen and Carol, thank you for putting out this information. And then you heard from Judith. And you know, one of the key takeaways, there's a lot of funding and vouchers, but where do you find information? How do you get into the stream of money and vouchers and funding? There's so much information. I want to thank Eileen for stating that New Jersey is underrepresented. And, we've talked about this, Kelly and I have talked about this with Judith. How do we get New Jersey on the radar more so that these hardworking businesses, folks that should apply for the SBIR, STTR, how do they get the actual funding? And so what we're trying to do is get the roadshow from the SBA back to New Jersey for this year. Due to COVID, that's not a possibility, but we are looking towards next year to having the agencies with the SBA come into probably central New Jersey to do another roadshow. So that's on the radar for 2023. I do want to take this time, I put it up in the chat. The monthly SBA Innovation System Network call will be tomorrow. Thursday at 2 p.m. It is talking about funding opportunities. If you remember Brittany Sickler from the SBA back in the days when she was here doing the roadshow, she's now with EDA. She is going to be featured Thursday, as is Eldon Hawks. He does the FAST program. And then our director for the SBIR program, Jennifer Shea, will be on. So I highly encourage everyone who's attending this webinar to take a look at the link I put in chat and network. You don't know about these opportunities unless you know about them. So you don't know what you don't know. I want to thank SBDC Kelly Brosnia for your tremendous outreach in this endeavor. It is a collaboration that I think is only going to get stronger. I want to thank NJEDA Judith Sheft and her team. Again, she's doing heavy lifting, trying to get this where it needs to be in the state. And also Department of Energy, Eileen Chan and Carol, thank you for taking time out of your busy day to share with the participants what the requirements are. And there's just so much information. When you look at phase one, you've got 6 months. The funding is limited to about 150,000. And then what next? If you compete for the phase two, $1 million, 2 years, then what? So during that time, we're hoping that you establish a rapport with whatever agency you're working with to have potential contracts and programs of record. Again, Eileen said it best. If energy is not for you, if what you're proposing, your technology, is not in their swim lane, take a look at the other agencies. You can look at www.sbir.gov and look under the announcements. There's events. You can search. You can collaborate. There are times, deadlines for different agencies. They're all over the calendar. If you miss one, you have another opportunity. But the more information you arm yourself with, the better prepared you are. And talk to the folks that are at the agency. Some of them have worked on the panels that review the submissions and actually award the phase one and phase twos. Talk to them. That's what we saw when we did the roadshow, and I wish we could do one again this year in Jersey. That's not possible. So next year we will look forward to doing that. Please take a look at the link. I put two links in there, one for Thursday's funding opportunities, and also there was a link for the SBIR.gov. That's all I have, Kelly. Again, thank you for this opportunity. I appreciate it.
Wonderful. Thank you, John. So now we're in the Q&A section of the presentation. So if we can have our panelists all put their videos back on, that would be great. John, you got to put your video back on. Thank you. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go down some of the questions that people put in the Q&A section, and then we can continue to open it up. And please, to everybody that's in the audience, if you have any questions, put it in our Q&A. We'll make sure that we get to everybody's questions. If we don't get to everybody, we will make sure that we respond back to all the attendees with the answers so that we can make sure everybody gets the information that they're looking for. So one of the first questions, and I'm going to open it up, and I think that it's probably Eileen and Judith that it's being pointed to, is do only the projects identified by you receive funding?
I guess that's a two-part answer. Then I can answer on the DOE side, and Judith would answer on the New Jersey program side. So we have a review process. Carol had the 3 elements of the review process on one of her slides, where it's, you know, the strength of the idea, the ability of the team to carry out the project, and then the potential impact of the technology in its field. So the applications are reviewed according to those criteria, and then they are sort of ranked in terms of in terms of being technically meritorious. And so we rank, the program offices do this, by program offices, they rank the applications, and the highest quality applications are the ones that are funded. And as Carol indicated, that's about 20% of the application. So that's how you receive funding, is by providing a high quality application.
So let me really build off of what Eileen said and say that for the Commission on Science, Innovation, and Technology, we have a similar type of review process. We have an online application portal. Applicants are able to provide technical information about their proposals, budget information, information about their team, and we then go through a scoring process similar to what Eileen talked about. We also give different bonus points for companies who may be minority certified by the state of New Jersey, may have a business that's female owned certified by the state of New Jersey, companies that are licensing technology from a New Jersey university may get bonus points, companies that are located in Opportunity Zone eligible census tracts are able to get bonus points. And after the whole scoring, we kind of rank them, and based on the amount of funding we have available, we're able to make awards for our programs. For our SBIR programs, we were fortunate in the last cycle, everyone who submitted a complete application, we had enough funding, everyone was able to get funded on our SBIR, STTR matching program. On our clean tech program, we currently are reviewing applications. On the seed grant program, we have about 31 applications. We're only able to make 20 awards. On the voucher program, that is reviewed on a rolling basis. So the first one in that's complete, that's reviewed, that we have a match for, will get funded, and those will get funded until the dollars run out. I think it's really important, both for the federal grants as well as for the CSIT grants, for companies to do a good job of describing what they're trying to accomplish, because the reviewers are only looking at the information that's part of the application. And I think someone mentioned, it could take you 10 weeks to fill out all of the different sections of your application. And it's really important to do a good job of describing what you're trying to accomplish so that you can get good scores relative to your proposed projects.
Wonderful, thank you. And I know that I believe that there was an answer typed in here, but I'm gonna put it out, this question out for the entire audience. If an inventor has an invention that will create efficiency is one component of the topic, is it safe to say that the PI would be eligible to apply?
So that is the purpose of the ability to communicate with the topic manager and also the topics webinar. So we are always looking for advances in technology. Okay, so we are looking for like more efficient use of fossil fuel or a component in a heat pump that will make that heat pump more efficient. So in general, making a technology more efficient is going to be something that we would look on favorably. But when you see a topic and you think you might be a good fit with it, we encourage you to reach out to the topic managers. Don't try to sell them your idea, because that's what the proposal was for. But ask some questions so that you understand what they're looking for. Like you can just say, is proposing an efficiency improvement in component X, will that consider to be a good fit with this topic? That's the kind of questions that you should ask to figure out if it is a fit.
I would just add that Building Technologies Office often is funding things in terms of efficiency, looking to optimize different processes that they are monitoring through sensors. So yeah, as Eileen said, you just really want to look at the topics and see if that is something that is mentioned in the description, or they often have bullets that, you know, we are looking for applications in this area, but not that area. You know, they're pretty specific when you read the topics, and they'll tell you what they're not looking for certain.
Wonderful.
Give up if you don't hear back from our program managers. They're very busy. If you reach out to them and ask them questions, give them time to respond. But if you don't get a response, you can reach out to our office and we'll do what we can to try to get that person to respond. We don't control their response, but we can encourage them to respond. Most of them do respond. I just want to say that, but just in case, we can get engaged and try to help you get an answer.
Wonderful. Thank you. So the next question is for the return on investment, the ROI. Is it important to provide the knowledge of financial literacy and be able to create forecasting in the application?
Okay, let me just make sure that I understand. So provide the knowledge of financial literacy. No, I think that let me just talk about what there is a template. So if you go to our application resources page, you can find a template to download that talks about return on investment. That's very specific for our phase 2 applications. When you're just putting together your phase 1 application, and the reason that I mentioned return on investment is because we are using taxpayer dollars. The SBIR STTR program is funded with taxpayer dollars. And so Congress wants to see a return on investment. So what that means is, are you going to have taxable revenue because you're selling product? Are you going to create jobs? Are you, I also mentioned the societal benefit, that's important too, but you don't have to have great financial literacy to be able to talk about what they're asking you to talk about. What they want to see is that you have thought about it. They want to see, you know, when they ask you to fill out the return on investment worksheet, or when they ask you to put together some pro forma income statements. These are all phase 2 pieces, which is why I didn't really get into them. They really just want to get inside your head. They want to see how you're thinking about it. You know, are you saying I'm making a capacitor and my opportunity is the entire electronic component market, or are you saying what your specific niche is? So they want to make sure you understand what the opportunity is. That's really all they're expecting, and they are expecting you to say what your assumptions were in arriving at that forecast.
So just as a selfish plug, the New Jersey Small Business Development Center Network can actually work with all of the businesses on your financial literacy side of things, your pricing, your budgets, your forecasting, all of that. That is one of the beautiful things of why we're partnering up with CSIT, as well as all of the other federal departments with the SBIR and STTR awards that are out there. We want to work with you and help you in your application process. And we have several consultants that we've brought on board that can actually do that as well. One of the other things is really nice is that if you have an idea, bounce it off of us. We're no cost consulting. We can work with you. We can also help you with the investigation to see if it would be a really good fit for you to perhaps apply for phase 1, 2, or 3, depending on where you're situated in your timing of your product or your invention or whatever it may be. So again, a little selfish plug, you know, for the SBDC to be working with you as the business owner to help you along that pathway.
No, that's great. That's fantastic that that you gave that plug so that they know that you're there to help them.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So this next question looks like it is for Judith. Navigating the universities has proven to be time consuming. where is Judith? I'm wondering, navigating the universe has proven to be time consuming and occasionally challenged. This information is game changing. Oh, it's just a thank you. Never mind.
So again, I'd like to say certainly use the Research with New Jersey website. You can always come back to our office if you've got some challenges. Most of the universities also will have a contact person who will help make the connection with an individual faculty member, because again, sometimes they get busy or they're off on a summer vacation, but we can help make those connections because again, we want to be sure that we're leveraging all of those capabilities.
Wonderful. And I'm going to check one last, I don't know how to start lessons. Yes. So everybody that is on this presentation today.
Kelly, can I interrupt for a second? There is one question I'm seeing at least that wasn't answered, only one,
Okay.
about the SBA loans. Do you see that question?
I did not see that question. Sorry.
Do you want me to read it?
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
And I think that this is going to at least be Carol that answers it. I don't know on your side. To confirm if the PI will seek out an SBA loan once research proves this process of the innovation, can this be introduced as part of the commercialization process?
So I might need clarification on what you're asking specifically. So Ozzy, you might have to type in a little bit more, but if you are, yeah, you can definitely get any other kind of loan to use for commercialization. All I was saying was that the SBIR and STTR funds have to be specific for the most part to R&D. Oh, well, that's something else. Okay. And so that's the only piece, but I will give you one small warning, and that is not the case with DOE, but in particular with NSF, they do an audit when you are recommended for a phase 2 award. So you want to be very careful with the number of loans that you have, because they sometimes become concerned if you have loans that are going to become due during a phase 2. So just be aware of that. DOE doesn't do that, but just be aware dependent on where you apply.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. Is the PI able to reference applying in phase 1 or phase 2 to the clean tech or clean tech PLIT as other sources as possible funding? I'm assuming that means they use that as leveraging for the funding.
So I think that was a question about our CSIT program. And when you go into the online application portal, on some of the programs, we ask you what additional funding you may have received, and you're able to indicate if you've had loans, investments, or SBIR grants as part of the other development work that you're doing on a project. So it's really grant specific, but yes, you're able to include that information in the application.
Wonderful. And I have a quick question on just for the audience. On the average, how many applications do you all get for each of the phases? Just as a query, I mean, what do people have to expect? I know, Judith, you said that last year you were fortunate enough that everybody that applied, that you had enough funding to support all of the applications. But how about with DOE and your applications and your phases? What is the typical number of applications that you get for each of the phase?
Right. So I just addressed that quickly, that on average, we have about 1,000 applications that we receive for phase 1, and about 20% of them get funded. And then moving into phase 2, it's about 40%. I think Eileen said that about 40% of them are funded moving from phase 1 to phase 2. Eileen, do you want to add?
Release 1 is a little bit fewer, like 800 applications, and then the release 2 would be like 1,200.
Right.
But the percentages of funding for phase 1 is about 20%. It's just that there's more program offices. Release 2 is a bigger release, and there's more applications.
And just for clarifications for everybody, you don't have to go in order. You can go to whatever phase is applicable to where your product or invention or whatever it is, correct?
Good question. I'm glad you raised that because there are some agencies that offer direct to phase 2. DOE does not. You can sometimes switch agencies. Let's say you had a phase 1 with DOD and it looks like this technology is a good fit also with DOE, so that does happen very occasionally where there's a phase 1 from another agency, but it's very, very rare. And you have to talk to the program managers and everything about it in advance. So we do not, the DOE does not offer direct to phase 2. Other agencies do, yes.
Okay. And then as a follow-up to that, if are businesses eligible for multiple phase 1s or multiple phase 2s if they shift their product or whatever it may be around a little bit? If same company, are they eligible for multiple phase 1s if they've changed, I guess, enough that it's a little bit different than what they got funded for previously?
Yes, you can submit up to 10 phase 1 applications each solicitation cycle. We will not pay you for research and development that has already been done. You don't get paid twice for the same work. If you're proposing new R&D, addressing a new topic, you may submit another application, and you may submit the same research and development to multiple agencies. If you get more than one award, then you do have to go through a negotiation process about which award you're going to accept. But the federal government won't pay you twice for the same R&D. And the other thing is that the second phase 2 awards that I spoke about very briefly are for that situation where things have shifted a little bit. Something happened during your phase 2 award, you realize you have to do all this extra work, or you just need more work to get to the commercialization point. That's one of the purposes of the second phase 2 award, is that things kind of cropped up during your first phase 2 award and you need more money and more time, because research is always unknown. You never know what's going to happen, and directions can change and that type of thing. So that's another purpose of the second phase 2 award, is when things shift a little bit and you need more time and more money.
Okay, perfect. So we are about out of time. And for those questions that people put in the box and we did not get to, we will make sure that we answer each and everybody's questions. Just as a friendly reminder, you will, after this event, you will receive a link to complete a survey. Once you complete that survey, you will then get access to the presentation in any of the documents that may be shared as well. Several links that have been put in there will make sure that everybody gets all the copies of the links, and again, the Q&A. So I want to thank Eileen and Judith and John and Carol. Thank you so much for your presentation and all of the wonderful information. Uzma, who is behind the curtain, setting all of this up. Thank you, Uzma, for all your hard work of putting this together. Thank the audience for being here. Hope this information was good and you will find value in it. Don't forget, you can always follow back up with NJSBDC.com if you want no-cost consulting to follow back up with us. And again, we do have consultants that are on hand that can help you specifically with your SBIR and STTR application process. Friendly reminder, we don't write it for you. We guide you through the process. We help you edit it, but we do not write it for you. So, but again, thank you all for being here today, and stay tuned. Some more good information. As a matter of fact, in the next week and a half, I think we have a date. We are doing the next presentation with the Department of the Navy. So we will be presenting a little bit of a difference with the Navy as opposed to Department of Energy. So again, trying to get as much information out to everybody as possible so that you can be successful. Thank you all for being here today, and good luck in your endeavors, and we look forward to helping you in the future. Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you, Kelly.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.